Are you anxious right now because you borrow self from other people? Find out here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little button down there in the corner, that little box right down there. It'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, right here for Jimmy Rants. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page. I see Nancy just popped in. Hey, Nancy. Thank you guys for being here today on Facebook, as well as over on YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay on IGTV. We put it right up there on Instagram right as soon as this is over. It'll be on my main page, so you can watch the replay there. You can also watch the replay over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. And over on YouTube today, by the way, I have not just one, but two bonus episodes, two bonus Jimmy Rants episodes. So about the past month, I've been putting the video version of my podcast up on YouTube. So today's episode of the Living La Vida Low Carb Show is up there with the ketogenic girl, Vanessa Spina. So you can go watch that one. Find out what she's been up to. And then tomorrow, I've got a fantastic episode of Real Talk, my podcast. And that episode is up there right now with a medical doctor who sees patients that deal with trauma and its physiological effect on their body. So real exciting stuff over there on YouTube. Again, youtube.com/livinglowcarbman. Then finally, pop on over to jimmyrants.com. It's the official website for this here show. And once you're there, you can see all the past episodes and definitely support this show. If you like what I do here, definitely go support it. Click on the Patreon link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. Okay, you guys, today I have a topic that I think is going to be really eye-opening, and maybe you've never thought about this before. I like these kinds of topics. And it's more along the psychological line of things more than explicitly nutrition. I think the nutrition things that I do here are great. The studies that I outline and look all the science. I did a real nerdy one earlier this week all about ketosis and viral infections. But today is going to be a little bit different because I sense that there are a lot of people that are highly anxious right now for all kinds of reasons, be it COVID-19, be it some financial pressures because you lost your job, be it the uncertainty over what's happening in our country right now and maybe the upcoming election, be it the race relations stuff and what's happening with it. There's a lot of people highly, highly anxious right now. And the anxiety is not going to go away. And I've been trying to look at some of the reasons why certain people tend to handle anxiety better than others. And one of the concepts that I've been learning is that some people tend to borrow self from other people. In other words, they abdicate their feelings, how they think about things, their beliefs, to what other people have to say. And we know these people very well because these are the people who see a meme, and just based on a meme, that becomes a belief. And then that belief becomes everything about them. And so if a meme tells them that the sky is green and then someone shows them, hey, look, the sky is blue, they go crazy because in their belief system, they borrowed from someone else. It tells them it's green. And we're seeing this play out in all kinds of ways online. I just did a post today about, hey guys, just because somebody's posting something doesn't mean it's political. Like literally there's people out there that think every single post is all about politics. And I'm like, it could be about, like I did a post recently about America's a great place for opportunity to live out your dreams. And somebody said, oh, you're a racist. Your white privilege is showing because you don't understand. And I'm going, what? Like it was just such a shocker that even the most innocuous thing could be viewed in that way. And so people are quite anxious. They're on edge. And I wanted to dig deeper into this concept of borrowing self. Is your anxiety from borrowing self from other people? And then how do you grab it back? And so I found a really great article in Psychology Today. They make some really good articles. I love doing them here on Jimmy Rants. But this one's entitled 25 Ways You're Borrowing Self from Others. Learning to rely on your own thinking can help you manage anxiety. And this is the problem. I don't think enough people are relying on their own thinking. There are far too many people in the world today that want you to tell them how to think, what to believe, so that then they could regurgitate those things. And I always wonder about those people. Do you just have no trust in yourself? Do you have no beliefs to speak of? Like, I've had conversations with people like this that you can tell they borrow self from other people. And then you're like, well, what do you believe? Well, and they don't have an answer other than to regurgitate the things they've been taught. And so critical thinking, independent mindedness about your belief system, these are all good qualities to have in your life. And you're going to find out why. Relationship systems are small economies. Look closely at your family or at your workplace, and you'll see that there's a good amount of borrowing, lending, and trading of what's Dr. Murray Bowen calls self. When people close to us are in distress, we lend our abilities, our calmness, and our confidence to them. And when we are anxious, we borrow them from others. This system of borrowing and lending can be very effective at stabilizing relationships. But listen to this. The constant automatic borrowing of self takes its toll. We know those people who borrow self pretty much on the regular. And I'll be the first to admit I've had some tough moments this year. I'm going through a very difficult personal situation along with COVID-19 and all the rest of the things. And I've had to lean on some people in my life, really good friends and family members, and basically get them to step in and help me out when I've not always been really great up here and in here with what's happening. And they always ground me, and then I'm able to kind of take that over and let go of borrowing the self from them and then have my own self-sufficiency. But it's a tough skill, and there's some people, they never want to take on that burden. They never want to have the onus put on them of, hey, I need to deal with this in an effective way. I often marvel at how much self a person loses when they get married, for example. When I lived alone, taking out the trash was a manageable chore. Now that my husband handles the task, it feels like such a Herculean effort when he's traveling. That's interesting. So you get used to doing something, then things change where you abdicate that doing something. Then when that person's not available to do that something you used to do on the regular, then it becomes extremely hard. Anybody relate? I can navigate well when I'm driving alone, but put him in the passenger seat and I might ask his opinion on the route. So she's abdicating self. She's borrowing self from someone else. What is it about adding another person into the mix that weakens our calmness and our capacity? So they call that in other ways, in other forms, they call that kind of codependency, where you feel like you need someone else in your life in order for your life to be complete. And I think sometimes we forget we have the capability within ourselves to be self-sufficient. Now, I'm currently living alone. I have to be self-sufficient. There's nobody else here. That orange cat and that little black tuxedo cat, they're not very much help of anything other than giving me more work to do when they throw up on the ground and then having to feed them and all the rest. So self-sufficiency is a good thing. So I think we lose self in relationships because our anxiety wants to fix our distress as quickly as possible. Now that's interesting. So when you get anxious and you're distressed, if you have someone else there, the natural inclination is to go to them and to assume that they can help solve the problem. What would happen if you were the only one there and you had that same issue come up and you had nobody to turn to? Would you be self-sufficient enough to make the decision? And most of us, we probably would. Now, some people would freak out, and that's where the anxiety comes in. But when you get used to not having someone there to have to give up and borrow some self from, you become more self-sufficient. And it's more efficient to borrow the thinking and abilities of others than to access your own. Why is it more efficient to borrow thinking because someone else has to take the onus off of you? Like, it's interesting how all of this psychologically happens when there's someone else. And I would even say that this also applies to, well, what happens when something bad happens in the house? You can play the blame game and point the finger. Well, that other person's in here. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm as pure as the wind-driven snow. It must have been their fault, and therefore you abdicate the role there of the responsibility of what happened. This is all really fascinating. If you have friends who will reassure you, teachers or supervisors who praise you, and experts who tell you what to do, why wouldn't you just borrow their thinking? Can I just be blunt right now? That last one got me. Experts who will tell you what to do. How many people are following what the experts are telling us to do when it comes to COVID-19? Oh, you need to socially distance. You need to wear a mask. You need to wait for a vaccine. You need to stay at home as much as possible. You need to live in fear because we're going to make you fearful if you get out of the house. And how many people are obediently following all those things? Now, those things in and of themselves aren't bad, but I think what happens is when the experts put out those kinds of edicts and people just like, oh yes, I will do that, and it becomes a trance kind of thing, you let go of your own cognitive thinking. You let go of personal responsibility and personal choice. If someone chooses to walk out their door and go to a store and not wear a mask, for example, that should be their choice, right? Now, some people would say, well, you're taking away the choice of others of protecting themselves, and therefore, so this kind of borrowing self thing, people are buying into it so heavily that they believe everything they hear. And this is another problem with borrowing self. When you abdicate that role of your own decision making, you let other people make the decision, and who says their decision is the correct one? So it's a tricky one. All right, so let's look at some ways, 25 ways, that you might be borrowing self from other people. So these are all real world examples of how this plays out. Number 1, relying on your partner to wake you up or tell you when to go to sleep. You ever done that? So, and this used to happen to me. Can you wake me up at like 7:45? Oh, okay, because I'm up before 7:45. And so I would wake them up, and it's like, okay, they couldn't take the initiative that if I wasn't here, how would they have woken themselves up? An alarm clock or something like that. Number 2, asking someone to eat dessert with you so you don't feel guilty. Oh, that's funny. So they want to have dessert, but they know they'll feel bad if they have to eat it alone. But if they see someone else eating dessert with them, therefore it makes it less bad, or it makes it acceptable. That was kind of a weird one. These are ways, if you just joined us late, we are looking at ways you are borrowing self from other people. And we do it all the time. People do it on a daily basis. You don't want that responsibility of having to make those choices and those decisions, so you abdicate it to someone else. Number 3, automatically relying on passengers to direct you when you drive. Oh, there are some people who do not like backseat drivers. And then there's others that say, just tell me where to go. I don't know where to go. They want you to be their human GPS system, I suppose. Number 4, not finishing a task because you know someone else will do it. Ooh. Have you ever left something to be done, like the dishes in the sink, because you know there's someone else in the house who is anal retentive about cleanliness in the sink, and so they'll go and clean it later? That's a form of borrowing self. How about number 5? Borrowing societal definitions of success, beauty, etc. without considering your own. Oh, I love that one. Like, society says success and beauty look a certain way, but who says? Like, I'm not the traditional definition of what you would call beautiful, but in my mind, I'm a handsome guy. I'm a beautiful man, because that's the way I choose to believe, because of the qualities I have. I don't need the aesthetics on the outside to tell me whether I am or am not based on what society's view of it is and definition of it is. I view it because that's how I view myself. And I love this movement with all the women that are kind of challenging each other, and they're posting black and white photos with no makeup on, and it's just beautiful because they're fighting these concepts of what beauty is. So that's a big one. Number 6, asking someone to remind you to take your medicine. Again, like the alarm clock earlier. What would you do if they weren't able to do that? Number 7, relying on a friend or a romantic partner to calm you down. Well, there are certain situations where people are more distressed than at times than others. And so having a friend or someone who can help calm you down is great. But yes, again, you have to think of these things as if you were the only one around, how would you deal with the circumstance? And you'd have to figure out a way to calm yourself down. Number 8, creating a very busy schedule to feel like you're important. Ooh. I was guilty of this not that long ago. Just over a year ago, I was just like busy, until I crashed. And it wasn't because I was necessarily trying to feel like I was important. I now know I was kind of covering up some pain that I needed to deal with, and I didn't want to deal with it. But then I dealt with it, and now I feel great. Number 9, asking for dating advice before defining your own thinking. Now that's interesting. So if you know what you're looking for in someone you're trying to date, then when you get advice, you base the advice on what you've already vetted out in your mind, rather than hearing someone say, oh, you need to look for this quality, and this quality, when those things aren't necessarily what you would be interested in. It's just the viewpoint of that person you asked. Number 10, relying on a child to reassure you you're a good parent. Ooh. How many parents do that? So, honey, do you think I'm doing a good job as your mom? Like, why do you need the validation of the kid? If you're a good mom, you're a good mom. You don't need the validation to confirm it. Number 11, following the advice of self-help experts without thinking for yourself. Do you know how many people read self-help books looking for someone else to help them think and feel and believe about things? A bunch. That's why self-help books tend to be some of the best-selling. People don't want to think for themselves, and they borrow self from all these published book authors. They do. Number 12, using social media likes to boost your confidence. Oh, did I just step on some toes there? Because there are people who, they put a post up and every like is like a dopamine hit for their brain. Dopamine hit for their brain. Dopamine hit for their brain. I mean, obviously, I'm a content provider, and if you like my stuff and you leave comments, there's obviously the feedback I get from that. But at the same time, I don't need it to boost my confidence to keep doing my work. I keep doing my work. I've gotten some really ugly comments lately, like borderline death threats, with just me just sharing the normal stuff I share. And there's no way I'm going to let something like that take away from the work that I do just because someone else feels like it's not what they would want to do. And so using social media likes to boost your confidence is something a lot of people do, where they borrow self from others. Number 13, peppering your speech with requests for reassurance. Oh, I hate it when I'm listening to someone give a talk and then they go, I'm not crazy, right? Or, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. So they're always needing that feedback from other people. I've never used those kinds of phrases when I give talks on the stage. I always am confident in the stuff I'm sharing. And if it falls flat, great. That's just that I learned the lesson and I shift it for the next time. But I'm never like looking at the audience, asking them to validate that I'm doing a good job. Number 14, asking someone to relay a difficult message for you. Oh, yeah, I hate those people. They're cowards, is what I call them. Who they've got a difficult message to share, and then they tell someone else to do it for them. It happened to me earlier this year. Someone had to say something difficult to me, and they did not want to face me, so they had someone else stand in their place for them. And then you kind of go back to the original person and go, well, why didn't you say this? And then there's dead silence, and you kind of go, all right, that person's got issues. Number 15, not paying attention to instructions because someone else is doing it. Oh, have you ever done that playing like a board game? So when you have a board game that's brand new, nobody's played it before, one person is reading the instructions to learn how to play. What are the other people doing? Probably not paying much attention to it. Someone else is reading the instructions. They'll explain it to us. Number 16, using your spouse as a buffer at family gatherings. I'm sure plenty of people have done that. 17, asking a parent to update you on a sibling's life or vice versa. I know that's happened quite a bit. My dad always talks to my half brother about what's happening with me because my dad doesn't ever directly come to me anymore. Number 18, needing a teacher or boss's praise to boost productivity. So you won't be a better employee or better student unless you get the praise. Oh, good job. Good job. I hope you're seeing here that a lot of this is just being confident enough in yourself and being aware that you're letting other people control you when you don't have that self-motivation. So this is kind of foreign to me because within me, I'm a self-starter. I get up in the morning, I hit the ground running. I don't need praise from people. I don't need people to tell me what I need to do. I know I just go. And I know at 11 a.m. Eastern, I'm right here on Jimmy Rants. I'm doing all these things very self-sufficient, but not everybody's that way. A lot of people need to be told and given affirmation that they're doing a good job. Ooh, the next one's interesting. 19, asking your therapist for advice. Now, a therapist's job, which I have a life coach I talk to, but a therapist's job is not to give you advice. They're to listen and then to analyze what you said to help you understand what you believe about it. They're not there to give you advice on what to do. Number 20, using an impressive job title to boost your confidence. Yes, I am the CEO of Living La Vida Low Carb Incorporated. Yeah, I don't need that. I really don't. I like just being Jimmy. Just Jimmy is pretty darn cool. I don't need this fancy schmancy title to tell me that I'm something that I'm not. Number 21, not learning important life skills because your partner already knows them. So again, abdicating that to them. 22, relying on family members to remember important dates. Oh, you know Aunt Sally's birthday. Just let me know when it's coming up, right? 23, adopting the political opinions of others without using your own reasoning. This is one that's running rampant right now. How many people are just regurgitating points that they've read in a meme or read on a post on Facebook that somebody copied and pasted? Oh, I read somewhere. Yeah, you read all right. What do you think? What that meme said? No, what do you think? Do you think for yourself? No, you've abdicated that to that meme. And we do this even like subconsciously, you guys. People embrace ideas of other people and you don't even realize you're doing it. It's borrowing self. 24, adopting the religious belief of others without using your own reasoning. Same thing as the politics. And then 25, what else comes to mind for you? So let's be clear, borrowing self is neither good nor bad. We're all social creatures. We often need each other to help solve problems. But ask yourself this question. Listen to this. What is the long-term cost when you borrow self and it becomes an automatic way of calming yourself down when you're anxious? Think about that for a moment. Think about when you're anxious, what do? Do you run to your spouse, to your kids, to your friends, to your family, and try to get support from them and try to get reaffirmation from them and try to get advice from them? Or are you thinking about it, working on ways that you can calm yourself down and working on it self-sufficiently? It's an interesting question to think about. And when we all stop, a lot of us are borrowing self from other people. One of the big costs is that borrowing self can turn your mood and functioning into a big old roller coaster ride. So if you like the highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows, because every time you get low, you've got to go seek help from someone else to get high again, only to fall low again, to then have your dopamine hit from talking to that friend to make you high again, to then get low again, to then have to go talk to your spouse and have them help lift you out of your doldrums so you can get high. You see where I'm going? And so it becomes this up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You'll feel amazing on the days when people praise you and they fix stuff for you in your life. They give you great advice. But when those people aren't there, or they're unwilling to reassure you that you're doing a good job and you're okay, your mood and functioning takes a nosedive. Think about those times when you've been lowest in your life. You're lowest when you're by yourself. And if you stop and think about it, that's because you have been so used to borrowing self from other people, you don't know who you are at your core. And one of the things that I try to help people with is know who you are, what you believe, why you believe it. And all of those things come in handy when you are stuck to make the final decision in your own life. And so many people, they can't make a decision on their own. They literally have to have someone else there. And when you take that someone else away, their life falls apart. They become an emotional wreck. We all know those people in our lives, and maybe we are those people. Just being conscious of this can be so helpful. Observing how you borrow self can highlight opportunities for what I call building up yourself. So if you're caught in that borrowing self from other people, how do you grab back control? Grab it back so that yourself is yourself, not borrowing it from someone else. So what does building up self look like? Strengthening your own ability to problem solve. And part of that is putting yourself in situations where you have to make the decision. There are a lot of people, they are so fearful to make decisions in their life. Sometimes very important decisions need to be made, and they don't do it. They want someone else to make the decision. Oh, it's just not my personality type to make a decision. Well, what if you're the only one there? Will you just spin your wheels and never make decisions? No, you would end up having to make a decision. So you need to strengthen that ability to solve problems when they come up. You also need to increase your ability to calm yourself down when you're distressed. There are so many people right now who are so anxious, and they don't even know something as simple as Now, what I just did was I'm a little bit dizzy. I just did 3 deep breaths through my mouth, held it for about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and then blew out through my nose. I did 3 of those, and oh my gosh, you guys should feel how this feels. Think of when you get in those anxious places in your life where you feel like you need to borrow self from other people. Breathe. And when you breathe, you'll find it's a powerful relaxant when you are under stress and when you're distressed. The next one, creating relationships that don't rely on constant reassurance. So have you ever been in a friendship or a relationship of some sort where people are like, so am I a good friend? Please tell me I'm a good friend. I hope I'm a good friend. I try to be a good friend, but if I'm not a good friend, you need to tell me if I'm not a good friend because I want to be a good friend. Like, those people, they always want that reassurance. You need to have those relationships where you don't have to rely on that. You just be. And if they're a real friend, let me tell you, I have learned in 2020 who my real friends are and who those fake people were all along. Anybody else experienced that this year? It's been quite the year of revelation on so many levels, but the friendship thing has been a very eye-opening one for me. There were people that I could have swore up and down they would go to battle for me and with me as a friend. And a lot of these people have just completely abandoned me. Don't hear from them. They don't have any interest in talking to me. You reach out to them, it's dead silence. It's really interesting that they're just not there. Whereas I've had other people that were marginal friends and acquaintances step up and go, hey, how you doing? Just checking in on you, da-da-da. So you're learning who those people are. And Jax, yes, you're my real friend too. So I've had so many people go away, but a lot of people like you, Jax, have kind of stood in the gap and become that friend, you among many other people. And so it's really fascinating where you have those relationships where you can be open and honest. If you don't have a relationship where you can literally say anything to that person and there's no way they're going to leave, anything, you found a really good friend. And vice versa. They say anything to you and you don't get your panties in a wad, right? So you need those kind of relationships, and you don't need reassurance in those kinds of relationships. Next one, being self-motivated rather than powered by praise or attention. So again, if you only feed off of people looking at you, praising you, giving you attention, versus you kind of being a self-starter, that's something that you need to start building up in your own self. And then the last one, live a principled life directed by your own interests and beliefs. Can I tell you, we have lost the fine art of authentic living. People are somehow, some way thinking they are not allowed to be who they are. And especially in this climate we're in right now. Well, if you say the wrong thing, screw it. I say stuff because I believe it. If you disagree, great, let's have the conversation. But I'm not going to alter what I believe or how I want to say things just to appease you. That's authentic living. That's a principled life. That's my own interests and beliefs and being confident in them and sharing them. People are so scared to be themselves. And when you aren't yourself, guess what? You're borrowing self from other people. If you feel like you have to do or say things that aren't in your heart of hearts what you believe, you are borrowing self from other people. Grab it back, guys. Live your life as you are. I'd be danged if Jimmy Moore is ever going to advocate for something that does not fall in line with my core principles of who I am. And if that upsets people, oh, you offended me. Oh, well, okay, good. You needed to be offended. That sounds so harsh on the outside, but look, you live your life, you be authentic to you, I'll be authentic to me. We can still have conversations, you don't have to get ugly with it, but if you disagree, disagreement is not a bad thing. Like we've gotten to this point in our culture, oh my God, you disagree. Oh, and I'm just like, okay, and? Disagreement is one of the beautiful parts of our society. You have your belief, I have my belief, and we come together and we have the conversation. What's happened is people have stopped thinking for themselves. They have stopped having their own principles, and they start borrowing self from other people, borrowing beliefs from other people, borrowing slogans and taglines and this and that from other people, and that's where the clashing begins. Because they've abdicated that sense of their own self. So the next time you want to ask a friend for advice or let your spouse fix a problem for you, ask yourself these 4 questions. Could this be an opportunity for me to work on building up self? So remember, you're in a situation where you need advice from someone else. This is what you do instead. Is this an opportunity to work on building up self with all those things we just talked about? What is my own thinking about how I navigate? Most people, before they go seek advice from other people, they don't know what they think about the situation. Now, some people do, but other people, they're like, oh no, somebody else is going to fix this for me. How can I sit with the discomfort that comes with managing my own distress? Oh, this is a big one. Sitting with the discomfort when you are anxious and you've got a decision to make, sitting with the discomfort is a part of the managing of the distress. Because to assume you're never going to be in a uncomfortable position is silly. You're going to be uncomfortable, especially when it's a really challenging situation where you have to make a decision where things could go one way or the other. You need to sit with the discomfort, and the discomfort is part of it. And can I tell you, as someone who's been through a lot of discomfortable kind of situations, that's where you build your character and you build that resilience so that when the next thing hits you, you're able to bounce back hard on it because it didn't overtake you. And think about it. If you gave up at that point and said, okay, I don't want the discomfort, let me call a friend, let me get, my mom on the phone and they make it all better. Okay, they made it all better, but what happens when you have this situation come up again and you have discomfort again and you got to run away again, but there's nobody to run away to and you have to deal with it sooner than later. And then finally, how might taking responsibility for myself in this situation benefit my life and my relationships? So if you messed up, you own up to it and you try to make amends and you do all the things. But at the end of the day, you have to go through that process of having the responsibility. Personal responsibility is a lost art in 2020. I did a post recently. I talked about this earlier in the Jimmy Rants that America is the place of opportunity. Just work hard and you'll be able to achieve no matter what your dreams are, blah, blah, blah. And somebody kind of took me to task. Well, you just don't understand. Black people have it harder in America because of the 400 years and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, no, I acknowledge there are challenges. But imagine this. Play like you're a victim the rest of your life. How far are you going to get in your life? Not very. But you give those people hope and say, hey, look, I know you've had a tough life. And if you are able to overcome those things, look at what a triumph that is. Look at how you've overcome the greatest of all odds, and yet you still became something. That dream is still alive. You can accomplish it here in America. Go work hard. Go work harder than everybody else out there and go and achieve. And when you achieve, you will have the satisfaction of knowing that you put your everything into that achievement to accomplish your dream. Now, which one inspires hope? The second one does. The first one leaves you riled in la la land, believing, borrowing self from this notion that you can't get anywhere just because of the color of your skin. That's just one example of many in this. I definitely want to see what you guys have to say about this. So come on in. We're going to come to Instagram first, then to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Let's see who we got here first. Yellow-eyed one, between the traveling to work on the subway, racial tensions, my anti-democratic views. Yeah, I'm anxious. I'm retiring in 2 months at 56, looking for alleviation. Well, I will tell you, Yellow-eyed one, just retirement alone will not alleviate the tension necessarily. It will definitely help. I'm not saying it won't, but there are other things that hopefully this Jimmy Rants today gave you things to think about. She says, I rely on my husband for many things, but also vice versa. But thank goodness my life is simple by choice. Really, otherwise I would be burnt out. Yeah. Pink Puggy Pundit. It's hard to say your username, sorry. I enjoy getting likes for my creations. Yeah, I mean, I think you get that dopamine hit when you are a content provider. I mean, trust me, I'm all the time looking at views on YouTube. I'm looking at likes on social media. I'm looking at comments. So it's not like you're not wanting those there. But I don't think at the end of the day, you're going to be totally devastated if you never saw that information. No, if you're putting out content with a passion for sharing, then you're going to share no matter what. But it does give reinforcement that, okay, what you're doing is resonating with people because they are liking it. I was also always a self-help reader, started on Norman Vincent Peale and Wayne Dyer. I guess I didn't feel good enough in early years, but now you can't tell me anything. I love it. Mom Needs Coffee says, this is a lot about taking personal responsibility. Yes, somebody got the theme song. Personal responsibility is so sorely needed in our culture right now. It's not my fault that I blank, and everybody kind of wants to push off everything to someone else. And then let's put it this way, you borrow self from other people, and then that borrowed selfness from someone else is wrong. You'll be well, they told me that this was the way to believe, and yeah, personal responsibility out the window. I'm so against the media. I'm in disbelief about a lot of what's going on. Yeah, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that have that in their hearts right now. Joshua says people surprise you both ways. Yes, coming and going. I have lost some friends that I thought were legit. And then I picked up people this year that I had no idea wanted to be friends. And so it is a cool tit for tat, Joshua. Yellow-eyed one, it's weird you lost friends. You're amazing, in my opinion. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons behind why I've lost friends. I'm going through a difficult thing in my personal life that it has caused people to flee me. I've written things about the social injustice, racial tension stuff, and COVID-19 that people have gotten upset about, and I don't want to be your friend. And then, of course, it's a presidential election year, which I'm not talking about that openly, but there are just tensions there, and it just makes people, I guess, reevaluate themselves and who they want to be associated with. So who knows why they left, but to me, I say it's good riddance. If you weren't stable enough to want to be my friend in a tough time like this, then I don't need you any other time in my life. Joshua says we all need that one friend who knows our darkest moments. Yes, I have, thankfully, a few of those people in my life. Jack says the people who were my friends before my divorce and are barely friends now, people I had lost touch with, are now my closest friends. Yeah, exactly. Personal tragedy really reveals who your true friends are. Yeah, even just COVID and all that, it's been eye-opening. I've had a lot of people say, wow, thank you for talking about losing friends, because I've done it. I thought something was wrong with me. No, it's happening to everybody. Joshua says, I like the line, if you aren't yourself, you are borrowing self from others. Yeah. You've got to be your true self. Kat says, black people think it's hard to live in America. Go to Russia. Well, and she's from Russia, you guys. So she's not just saying, go to Russia. She's from that country. And so she said, you'll come back and appreciate it more. The land of the free and plenty of opportunities. What else have they tried? Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here to my Facebook page. What's up, Facebook? Thank you for being here. See what you have to say on this one. I used to be a follower and did not realize it, said Tracy. Being more independent now is so liberating, and it's been very healing. Yeah, think about those people that have abdicated their own responsibility and decisions for their whole life, and then suddenly they're thrust into a situation where they have to make decisions. How do they handle it? And it's like, you handle it because when you're forced to make that decision, you have no other choice at that point. So if you're relying on other people, maybe start pretending like you're by yourself and see what happens. Nancy says, this is common in military families. I've been married for 47 years, 20 as a Navy wife. When the spouse is deployed, you both get used to doing things alone. When the spouse returns, you go back to a different dynamic again. The constant change between relying just on self and on others can be very hard if you're not aware of it. That's a good point. She said, oops, 48 years. I lost track doing the math. Yeah. That's a good point that, you have to be self-sufficient when you're apart. But even when you're together, I think there can be this kind of nice balance between self-sufficiency and being able to do and get things done, yet letting others kind of be a part of it. It's a tricky balance in a relationship like a marriage, like you're talking about. Tracy said, those people who ask everyone for advice all the time will condemn you if the advice is wrong, and I run from those people. Yeah, I know people like that. I always kind of give the caveat, okay, I'll give you my opinion, but you take it at your own risk. Don't come back and scream at me if it didn't work, because at the end of the day, you need to make the decision. And whenever I talk to people and ask for advice, some of them will, well, don't let me decide for you. I'm like, oh, you're not deciding for me. I'm just getting you as a consultant to tell me what your thoughts are. I've already thought about it. I'm getting your thoughts. Okay, now that we've gotten those things together, now I'm going to make the final decision. So that's a good way to do it. Kay says, I looked to others for myself when I was younger. The older I got, the more authentic I got to myself. I think it comes from accepting who you are and not being bothered by the need for acceptance. Okay, that preaches. And Kay said, my mother was always bothered by what others think. Older is easier. Yeah, I think sometimes we feel like we will be judged for being who we are. And I fought that when I was younger as well. And you fight it hard because you think you have to live a certain way, be a certain way to attract friends, to attract relationships, and you don't. I mean, at the end of the day, if someone can't accept who you are, your authentic self, without borrowing it from other people, think of it this way. Let's say you borrow self from someone else to attract a mate, and then that mate comes into your life and you guys hit it off, and they believe that self that you exude is all you. And then they realize, oh my gosh, they're getting it from someone else. Then you look like the fraud. Now, is that a good situation compared to being who you are and attracting someone who likes you just the way you are? That's going to be an authentic relationship at that point. So, good stuff there, Kay. Thank you for sharing. And thank you, Facebook. Let me pop over here now to my YouTube channel. What's up, YouTube? See what you have to say on this one here today. Spirals, I never catch these right away. I was literally just praying about this topic. I've been absorbing a bunch of opinions from others off of social media. I need to center on what I know. Yes, exactly. Center on what you are and who you are and what you believe. It's not that I want others to tell me how to think. It's that I'm sick of people trying to undermine what I think. Well, at the end of the day, people are going to think what they think, and they're going to share their beliefs, and they may challenge you. Oh my gosh, how can you believe? And at the end of the day, you don't have to explain why you believe what you believe. It's your belief, and it's your authentic self. And we need to stop letting other people think for us and borrowing self from those other people. A lot of people are doing that. All right, guys. So, are you anxious? Have you stopped to think about one of the reasons why is you could be borrowing self from other people? And if you're doing that and you're allowing other people to think for you, you're allowing yourself to be unduly influenced by these other voices out there that run counter to what you actually believe, you got to grab it back. Be who you are. Like, I've taken some hits lately because I am who I am. Like, try telling Jimmy Moore to shut up about what he believes in his heart. I just can't do it. And if that means I lose some people who follow me, great. If that means I lose friends, great. But at the end of the day, I think I end up being more true to myself. People will notice, oh my gosh, he lives an authentic life, and I want to do that myself. The thing is, too many people are fearful of being themselves because they don't like the consequences of doing that. But let that go. Don't let it bother you. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me right here on Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. We go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Be there, be square. We also simulcast on Facebook as well as over on YouTube. I've discovered myself more now that I let go of the narrative that other people were telling me it was the most freeing thing I ever did, says Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay here on IGTV. On Instagram, you can also watch it over on YouTube on replay. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. And don't forget about those 2 bonus episodes that I just put up over on YouTube, bonus Jimmy Rants episodes. Go check them out. And then finally, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. It's the official website for this here show. And you can watch all the past episodes there. And if you like what I do here, you engage in the content, you enjoy this, please throw some support back my way. Click on the Patreon link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll be back again real soon. Bye.